All right. Okay. And we're recording. So welcome to the training session. Thanks for that additional context. Tyson, that's helpful. I have some notes for an intro training. I'm not sure how much is going to actually apply to David, so I'll try to adjust the agenda a little bit as we go along. Just some of the quick basics. Um, so Green IT is a web app delivered by Radian Generation. And the system is the application is established as a system of truth for the ACES Delta contractual compliance obligations. And some of the features that we'll be reviewing today include just the user interface, navigation, risk management, and milestones. And just a brief introduction about Radian Generation. So Radian is an independent service provider focused exclusively on the clean energy industry. And we help owners, operators, and developers with a wide range of services, including software and automation, asset management, regulatory compliance, and cybersecurity. Radian/Green IT contracted with ACES Delta in Q2 of 2022, and we're in the process of delivering and providing training on the initial deliverables. That might be a little bit past that at this point. Um, Okay, yeah. So this training is focused on risk management. We'll try to focus more on just the functionality of the system. And so let's see, we'll be reviewing data, features, and responsibilities within the application. As I mentioned, the application is it's a web app. You can access it using a standard browser. It's hosted on Amazon Web Services, and the platform is built upon a role-based workspace. So we just adjusted your role to administrator to escalate your privileges. But the concept is that each user can be assigned a role, and each role has a set of specific permissions enabling read access or read and write access throughout the software. All right, so in terms of the user interface, when you first log in, you'll see what we have on screen right now. This is the global map. In the top right, you'll see your name. You can click on your name if you want to adjust your password. There's also a couple other icons to the right of your name. There's a compliance icon, and then you can log out as well. And on the top left, you'll notice the ACES Delta logo. That's you can wherever you're navigating within the app, you can always get back to the global map just by selecting the logo there in the top left. And okay, so the navigation menu. The first item here is portfolios. So this is going to be a list of the projects, and ACES Delta focuses on storage. So that's the only technology that's available. So we're seeing all projects in storage. It's going to be the same list of projects. And so I'll show you what the project view looks like in just a second. I'll point out there are some other items available here. So features is going to be provide some additional tools and features that are going to apply across all of the projects in the portfolio. So there's a project-specific view, and there are features and tools available within that. And then there are also we provide like the ability to have visibility and interact with the data across the portfolio. Those tools and features are going to be available from the features menu. And there's also a support menu, and you have the ability to submit a support request as needed. That's one of the ways you can access support. I'll cover the rest of that before we wrap up at the end of today's session. Okay, so let's go into a project and we'll see what that looks like. So maybe advanced clean energy storage. And I was navigating around in here just a moment ago, but typically when you access a project, you're going to end up on the project overview module. So this is the project interface. It's going to be the same interface across all of the projects. Also, I'll just point out, please feel free to interrupt with any questions as we're going along. All right. So within the project view, um, I'll just point out that above the project name, there are some project categories or project modules available. Um, these categories can be updated as needed. They're kind of like a way of organizing the data into different aspects of the project. They're going to provide uh, similar interface across each module, but they're it's a helpful way for organizing the data. In project overview, we can see some of the basic project attributes here. These are some project milestones that are available. I can see there's some icons here that pop up on some of the different categories, depending on this is indicating that there's compliance that's upcoming in operations, and then it's also showing that there's compliance that's listed as overdue in the finance category. While we're in project overview, I'll just point out this is so we have a compliance tab that's available um, within project overview. So let's flip over to compliance here. And so this is going to show us the compliance for any of the different modules because we're looking at project overview. So right off the bat, we can see we've got some compliance items for the finance category and the operations category. All right, so just a basic review. Take a step back. What is compliance? Compliance represents a contractual obligation. Compliance is category related, so a compliance item needs to be defined by a category within the system. And the concept here is that the Green IT application is going to be used to track and fulfill these compliance items. All right. Let's just show you what this would look like. Let's go into the finance category here. And so now we're focusing specifically on compliance items that relate to finance. Similarly, if we went over to operations, we can see that these are the compliance items that are related to operations. Okay, just take a quick moment and show you. There's a couple different ways to see data. My understanding is the data that we're looking at on screen right now. This was Radian support assisted with seeding some of this data. Um, there's there's a couple different ways to get data into the system. So on the front end, users have the ability to add compliance using this add new button here. Uh, we also have the ability to uh, import compliance into the system using the compliance import template, and that's how this data was seeded via the import. So couple different ways to get the data in. If there's a lot of data coming in at once, the import template is pretty helpful. But users have the ability to just add compliance here as well. So I'll show you what this looks like. I'm going to tread lightly since this is your production environment, and don't want to disrupt any of your data. Um, so this is the new compliance item Lightbox, and there's a few different steps that we'll go through to create a compliance item. So I really feel like maybe let's just take a step back here. Let me just add a project here real quick. So we're not doing anything in one of your projects. Tests. Sure. And I'm in Philadelphia. Okay. So again, similar interface. We're looking at, we'll go back to operations, and we can go back to add new. Now, since I just added this project, I'm getting a message showing there's no groups associated to this module. So let's just take a slight detour here. Within a project, so the compliance items are representing contractual obligations. Well, there are agreements that stipulate or create those contractual obligations. So those are going to be files. In the new project that we just added, we haven't configured any files yet. So if I were to, I can set that up in this Green IT matrix here. I can add a agreement to this project. And so now I have a group or a yeah, now I have a group defined within this compliance category operations, and we'll just say this is going to be an agreement that's going to last for 600 months. And so this compliance group this would be specific for this project. This would be a specific agreement. We could Okay. Well, this is going to be an agreement, as a specific agreement that was signed for the project. And so there are contractual obligations that come out of this. This agreement's going to have an effective date and a duration. So just captured some data points to be able to add compliance here. So now we're going back to add new compliance, and we have a group available. Okay, for the assignee, this currently we don't have any team roles defined for our project. I can see if I can do something about that.
Clay, we're
Yeah.
using it a little uniquely on the
Uh-huh.
where Allison's kind of managing and she
Okay. Yeah, I might
actually
be getting a little bit into the weeds here with
if you
right.
look
Yeah.
in there, the S&Es like contract admin, DOE loan team, those are essentially roles.
Yeah.
It's distribution list email addresses associated with that S&E. So
Right.
essentially using those like you would use roles.
Okay. Yes, understood. Thanks for pointing that out. I'm just going to set this up here. Okay, so these team roles, let's see. Well, while we're here, so we configured a file or an agreement file within this project and in this category to be able to add compliance. We can take a look at team resources. So this little pop out here, we call this green gears, and this is available within each project to be able to define the agreement files. We can also set up compliance milestones. I'll talk about those in a moment as well, and team resources. So let's take a look at team resources. Um, every project is going to have an assignee for accounts payable and permitting. I guess this, uh, well, I'm available here, so I just added myself as the permitting lead for Green IT Test. I guess we're in operations right now, so isn't the best example, but I just want to show how to create refresh here so I can I'll show up as, here we go. Okay, so now I can assign this to the permitting lead. You can't assign a compliance item to a project team role if that team role doesn't have an assignee. So just set that up real quick. Um, and capture many different data points here related to the compliance items, just to create flexibility in terms of there may be compliance items that require payments, or maybe they're just like a task that needs to be fulfilled. So it could say, yes, this is contractual. You have the ability to, is there going to be uh, verification for completing the compliance item? I'll just leave these blank for now, but they just allow the some flexibility within in terms of capturing data points related to the contractual obligations. In terms of scheduling, there are many different scheduling options for compliance items. So the compliance item can be due on the effective date. Again, we had this based off of an agreement that was in this project for operations. So that agreement has effective date. We can schedule compliance based off of that effective date, or we can use compliance milestones for the scheduling. So these are going to be project milestones that may or may not have a date set yet, but it's something that we know is going to occur. So maybe this is going to be due based off of the project going COD or any of the other compliance milestones that are available within the system. So if a milestone um, has not been triggered yet, so we know that something is going to be due based off of COD, but we don't know uh, when that date is yet. So let's use this example here, but maybe once the project goes COD within 30 days, we know that we're going to have to start doing something. There's many different options available for the recurrence of the compliance item. Maybe it's a one-off, so there's not going to be any recurrence. Maybe it's something that's going to need to happen monthly, quarterly, annually. These are going to be based off of the uh, calendar date. So if something was annual, it's going to recur on Jan 1 of every year. We can also have something recur. Maybe it's going to be based off of the milestone anniversary. It's going to be annually. So, um, and so that would be this annual recurrence is going to be based off of the COD actual milestone. So whenever that date is triggered, this compliance item is going to be recurring annually on that anniversary. We can set the number of times that the compliance item is going to repeat. If we do repeat all, it's going to last for the duration of the agreement. So we define that in this example, we define that as 600 months or 50 years. We can also set for items that are recurring, maybe there's going to be a milestone end. So it conceivably could have another project milestone say, okay, when this project milestone is reached, this compliance item is going to cease recurrence. I'll just leave this blank for now. And so this item's going to have a 30-day offset. It was due 30 days after COD, and it will recur on the annual milestone anniversary of the COD milestone. Go to the next. The description here is going to be capturing what the description of the compliance item. So reference section, this may be pointing to the reference section in the agreement. This is our test, but this is contractual obligation required within 30 days of project COD, recurring annually on the all right. And the test trigger, this is going to be the COD actual project milestone. All right. Also got permitting type, tag, and index. I'll just leave those blank. And I'll just point out that there could be, maybe there's going to be a recipient. So potentially if there was a payment or a letter that needed to be sent to someone, we could capture those details here. I'll just leave that blank for now. The final two tabs here is history. This is like an updates log for this compliance item within the system. We also have the ability to add comments or notes to the compliance item within the system. So important notes, And we can also add attachments here as well. And we also have the ability to add files. So, but notes can include files as well. All right, so since we've been saving and closing as we're going along here, saving in next as we go along, this item's actually already been created, but I'll just save and close here. All right, so by default, when seeding a compliance item on the front end, the compliance item is going to be at status draft. So it's essentially just sitting in the system here. It's not actually doing anything. It's just at status draft. I'm gonna close my filter here. And so if I were to just load up this page, like I came into Green IT Test, and then I go to operations, and I'm looking at compliance, you'll notice the system's saying that there's nothing in here. So by default, these compliance tables are only going to show active and scheduled compliance items. The test compliance item that we just created is currently at draft, so it's not active. And it's also not scheduled because its scheduling is going to be based off of the COD actual milestone. But the compliance item is in the system. We just need to filter for it. So I'm going to filter for draft and non-scheduled. Could just filter for everything here. Say, well, maybe there's something uh, something that's not active or not scheduled, and it's not showing up by default. So we can just filter for everything. And now we see the draft compliance item that we just seeded. To change the status of the compliance item, we'll just click on it here, and we'll set this to active. Okay, and so now that it's active, we can see the schedule here. This is showing milestone start, COD actual. Just point out again that if I were to clear my filter, so this is still not showing up because now it's active and non-scheduled. So again, by default, this interface is only going to show active scheduled compliance items. So let's take a look at compliance milestones. Again, I'm accessing this from Green Gears, compliance milestones, and these are project specific. So project milestones here. We can see we're in the test project, and here's the COD actual milestone. You'll notice there's a little yellow dot next to this milestone. That's indicating that there's a compliance item associated to this milestone, but this milestone has not been triggered yet. And so we can trigger that here. So let's say we're gonna trigger COD we'll do it for a month from today. And to trigger this milestone, I just click on trigger, and I get a little pop-up saying it's going to convert the any related compliance items, and that conceivably there could be many compliance items that are dependent on this milestone, and it might take a few moments to schedule all of those. So do yes. We only have one of these, so it should only take a moment. And it's completed. And now the yellow dot is green. So this is showing this is triggered and there are compliance items associated to it. So now if we close our milestones, so now by default, we can see we have active scheduled compliance items in here. And so there's 50 items This is recurring annually, and the agreement duration is for 50 years. Okay, I just point out while we're looking at this, so the assignee, currently I'm the assignee. That's based off of the team resources or team roles. This could change. Maybe someone else is going to be the permitting lead, and then the compliance item will be assigned to them. And this is what Tyson was pointing out just a moment ago. So some of these uh, they're set up as users in here, but they're essentially uh, it's a way to have multiple users be responsible for a compliance item, or to have the ability to receive notifications, email alerts about the compliance items that are assigned to them, and then also have the ability to mark those items complete as well. So typically, there's one person who's responsible for a compliance item, but in the for ACES Delta, we've come up with a way to have multiple people be responsible for or be assigned to a compliance item uh, essentially at the same time. Okay, but the point I wanted to make here is that these project team roles, they can change. If they were to change, then the compliance assignment will automatically change with that, since these compliance items are assigned to the team role. And I can see that if I were to just click on my name there, I'll bring up the compliance light box again, and we can see that this is assigned to permitting lead, and I'm the assignee for this project permitting lead team role. Okay, so you can bring up the details about the compliance items just clicking in one of these fields here. It brings up this light box, and then we can see some of the additional details here. Let's see. We were looking at the filter a little bit. I'll just point out. So we can filter by category. This would be helpful if you were in project overview. And but since we're in operations, we're essentially already filtering for those compliance items. We can filter by compliance status. It's whether it's scheduled or not. We can also filter by who's the assignee. If there was a recipient, well, we could filter by that. When it's due, if it was completed, we can also filter by the phase that the compliance item is in, or even the index. Okay, so oh yeah, here's the group here. So okay, I'll just click out of this light box to close it, and I'll also point out that you can always export this data to an Excel file that's available here. Okay. Uh, and there's the search bar at the top right of the table as well. All right, let's see how we're doing with the agenda here. Talked about green gears, team roles, milestones. We talked about that a little bit. Okay, scheduling. Yeah, we looked at that. All right. The assignee, we've been talking about that. You can always change. Maybe we don't want it to be assigned to the team role. You can also assign it directly to a specific user. All right, so while this is active, some of these fields can be changed just directly by opening up the edit compliance light box. So for example, I could change the assignment. I could also change the description. All right. And you'll notice that there's a change all associated option here. So right now I'm just editing this one specific compliance item, but this compliance item recurs. So if I wanted to change everything, all of the recurrent instances of recurrence, I would select change all associated. Similarly, if you're changing the status, you're going to have the option to do you want to just change one of the items, or are you changing multiple items simultaneously? So that's something to keep in mind if you're making any adjustments to how the compliance items are seated. And we can make that change here. So save and close. And so we just updated the description here. Now, sometimes the schedule of a compliance item might change. Changing the schedule is not going to be available while the compliance item is active, because changing its schedule could change how it's going to be recurring. And so all of the items are going to need to become rescheduled. And that can only happen when the compliance item is at status draft. So if I set this to draft and I want to do change all associated, I'll just point out that I can also change the status uh, directly from the compliance table here. So, and when I select going from active to draft here, I have the option to, do I want to change everything, or am I just changing one of them? So, just I'll just show you how this looks within the edit compliance light box. You go to draft, change everything, update. Okay, so now everything is at status draft. And if we were to, now we could change the schedule here as well. Say, change everything, active. Wanted to do this from here. So we'll go draft here. We'll change everything. Okay. And so now when we open up the schedule tab within the edit compliance item lightbox, we have the ability to change the schedule. So maybe we don't want this to be annual. Maybe it's going to be biannual, triennial. We have a lot of different options here. Maybe the offset's not going to be 30 days. It's only going to be 10 days. And so you'll notice that now that I changed the schedule, all of the recurrence have been removed, and I'm left with what's essentially is like the parent compliance item. So since this schedule changed, all of the draft recurrence that I previously had have been removed, and I'm left with just the parent compliance item. Now, when I set this to active, you'll notice that our recurrence has changed, and so now we're down to, we set it up for triannual, so we have 17 instances of this compliance item, and now they're all back to active. So I just wanted to point out that some some of the data points for compliance can be adjusted while it's at active, but anything related to the scheduling of the compliance item is going to require setting it to draft so you can change the schedule. When you update the schedule, you set it back to active. It's going to reschedule if there are any recurrences. It's going to reschedule all of those. And so I guess the other thing I can point out here, I'll just let me just clear my filter here, refresh the page. So currently, this is scheduled to COD actual, and COD actual is set for 524. So we also have the ability to maybe this compliance milestone is going to be, it's actually a different date. And so this is really the precisely why compliance items will be scheduled to milestones is that maybe this date will change, or it's a date that might not be known in the future. So if this is set to 524, but maybe we find out that it's not actually going to be 524, we can untrigger the milestone. Our green dot is back to yellow, and so now if we were going to, let's say it was going to be May 15th instead of May 24th, and then we can re-trigger the milestone, let that run. And so now notice that all of these compliance items, their due dates has been automatically adjusted. So these are set to, let's say, a 10-day offset from the milestone, and our milestone changed to 515. So now these are all due 525 every 3 years. Okay. Any questions?
Can you explain the yellow dot?
Yes, here. This yellow
Mhm.
dot is indicating that this is an upcoming, it's due within 60 days. Here it's going to be indicating that. So I can think, let me look at one of your projects that has some data here. And so that's what this is indicating here, this yellow. I guess here it's a triangle. Down here it's a dot, but this yellow is indicating, so these are all due upcoming within the next 60 days. Beyond 60 days, there's no flag. And then overdue is going to be red. So you can see in finance, this is something that's past due. It's going to show up as red here. Also have visibility of that from the global map here. So you can just see quickly above the global map, we can see everything. But this is saying due in the next 30 days. Let's see here. So this is just automatically filtering for everything in the next 30 days, or we can see, and this is across the portfolio. So this is for all projects, compliance overdue, and then this happens to be, this was that finance compliance item that we were looking at in advanced clean energy storage. So this is actually good to point out here. So I just got to here from the global map, and I selected compliance overdue. This is like a canned filter of compliance. I can clear this filter. So this is actually global compliance. So this is available from features, asset manager, compliance manager. And so as I mentioned, tools available from features. This is going to include data from all of the projects within the portfolio. And so we have a compliance manager. This is essentially a compliance table for the entire portfolio. So maybe you want to query there could be a lot of data across the entire portfolio. So by default, this is just going to load a blank table. But the intent here is that you would build a filter. So show filter, maybe we want to see across all of the projects. We want to see what's coming up in finance, and we want to see, we'll just keep the due date. We'll go back to everything, so include things that are overdue, and we want to look ahead 2 months in advance. And so now we can see, I guess we're only getting results from advanced clean energy storage, but this would be a way to build a compliance report from across multiple projects. And again, we have the ability to export this as needed. So this is global compliance here. Okay, any other questions? I like getting questions. So says
So the initial
following
time
along.
period
Yep.
that you set up was like 600 months.
Mm-hmm.
How does that interface with the date that you have? Like, for example, one in front of you, May 25th.
Yeah.
Does it override that?
So this was right. Yeah. So let's look at files, and then this was our agreement here, and then our agreement terms. Here's this calendar icon, edit term, and so this agreement effective date, we just set this for today with a 600 month duration. So that's the effective date of the agreement, but we scheduled this particular compliance item. We scheduled it based off of the COD milestone. We could change that and have it be based off of the agreement's effective date. So go to draft here. We'll change everything, and then click on the schedule. And so this was our scheduling option here. So instead of the project milestone of COD, let's use the agreement effective date here. Maybe we'll go back to, we'll change it up. We'll go to annual instead of repeat all. We'll just do like the first 10 years. Okay, so and then I'll save and close. And so this compliance item is still at draft since we rescheduled. I haven't covered how to mark things complete. I'll show you that in just a second. Let's go back to active. So this is going to reschedule this compliance item's recurrence. And so now it's based off of this actually isn't really a project milestone. It's the agreement effective date, which was set to what do we have in there? It was 4/24. We had a 10-day offset. So the initial the initial obligation is due 10 days from the effective date. So that's 5/04. But the recurrence we set to be annual, based calendar annual. So it's going to be due Jan 1, but we had a 10-day offset. So the recurrence is going to be due Jan 11th every year going forward. And we set it to, we wanted 10 instances of recurrence. So so you have the ability to you can schedule either off the effective date, which is going to be a known date, and you can have offsets based off of that, or you can schedule to a project milestone. The agreements terms here that we're looking at in files, this needs to be defined here. If these were blank, you're not going to be able to add compliance items. So you can't have contractual obligations based off of something that isn't made effective, or that has a defined duration. I guess one other variation of that, let's go back to draft. Still have a few more moments. Change all. Another scheduling option here is instead of the agreement effective date or any of the project milestones, could also set something to an arbitrary date. So maybe there's just something that needs to happen and it has a date, but it's not necessarily related to a project milestone or the agreement effective date. Could always just set something to be, okay, this is going to be due June 13th. We can get rid of the offset here, and maybe there's just going to be two recurrences, and we could say it's going to be annual. So save and close. So we're just going to schedule this off of a random date and go back to active. And when we set it to active, it's changing the scheduling, setting the scheduling. So this is 2 instances, and it's going to be due just off of a random date. So lots of different scheduling options. I guess one thing to point out is that based off of these assignments, there are compliance alerts that are generated by the system that's going to be providing reports of upcoming compliance items. And so whoever is assigned here will receive those alerts, and then based off of how ACES Delta has configured this. So if this were going to be assigned to like project team is an email that multiple people have access to or visibility on that. So they would all be receiving those alerts. Okay, and just in terms of interacting with the application, and if you're in a lightbox, you can always click out of the lightbox. So like, let's say I was messing around and changing who this was assigned to, but I didn't actually want to save this. I can always just back out of this. If I just click out of this lightbox, you can just close that without capturing any updates. So that's pretty standard across, if you're in a filter lightbox and you want to just get out, you can just click outside of it and close the lightbox. Okay.
Got a question.
Yeah, please.
Can you show me how those emails interact? Is that something that you set up, or is it something I can administer? If I need to change an email, somebody, there's turnover, or something needs to
David,
be
that's on
changed.
our side.
Okay.
We did that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think to answer your question, we don't have an admin for like the scheduling of emails, but the distribution is going to be based off of whoever's assigned here, and those contacts are set up in, I can just show you the contact list here. So if we had was it project team here. So this is the contact profile for project team. So this is one of the options to be able to create an assignment. So there can be compliance items assigned to project team. This is an internal contact type, and here's their email address here. So you could always add a new contact with another, if there's a new user or maybe a new team, we can add them to the system and then make assignments to them. If that answers your question.
It does. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see, we have 1 more minute, so just point out again for if you have any questions, please feel free to contact Radian support. There's our email address. You should have that. That's the credentials that you received should have been distributed from the support box, but I'll just provide that into the chat here. You have that handy. Email is probably the best way to get in touch. You can also, within the application, you could always just open up a new request here from the support menu and submit a ticket like this. And we'll get pinged from there as well. We also have are available on the phone as well. So, and that number is 1-800-275-5870. So lots of different ways to get in touch if you need any assistance. And we're always happy to, if you needed another like a reinforcement training or something, for whatever else, whatever comes up, we're here to support. So please don't hesitate to contact us for any reason.
Thanks, Clay.
Yeah, thanks for your time today. Nice to meet you, and I look forward to working with you.
Yeah, you as well. Thanks for your help.
Thanks. Bye.